Oh man, I was gonna do an intro, but I forgot.
Oh no.
Yeah, how's everything going, people? Eric.
Oh, me. I thought you were talking to the people.
Well, I said people first, and then I said Eric.
And then you
so
remembered
I guess,
that I'm also a people.
Yeah, you're a people. Is that how we say it now? People,
Yeah.
person, people, person, people.
I don't know.
That
I
kind
think
of
it's
sounds like
purple,
a
actually.
purple people
peasin',
person.
Purple peason.
Yeah, purple piece.
Oh my god. Okay. Oh, so how's it going was your question. It's okay. I'm starting to feel like, do you remember that Simpsons episode where they get a pool and then Bart breaks his leg? Do you remember that one?
Yo, yes, that
Yeah.
was one of my favorites.
And that's how my summer is starting out here. So just kind of sitting in the house and looking outside and going, dang, I wish I could do something. But, oh well. It's okay.
It is summer, isn't it?
It is summer.
Well, has your leg healed yet, or
It's
is it
getting there.
or
It's
is it?
it's getting better. Yeah.
Okay.
It should be all right soon enough. So
Well, isn't that the episode 2 where Bart he kind of goes crazy, but then he discovers that he thought that Ned Flanders murdered his wife?
yeah, it's like Rear Window, the Hitchcock movie.
Yeah, and Flanders screams like a little girl.
Yeah, it's a pretty good
That
one.
was real.
I've been wanting to see it since I broke my ankle. Just that episode, and I don't have Disney Plus, so my only option was to pay $2 or $3 to watch that one episode, and I just haven't. I haven't been able to bring myself to do that yet because I'm just like, are you serious? Shit's been on for 30 years, and I'm gonna pay to watch it. Come on.
Yeah, it's looking back on The Simpsons, man. God, what a just a fantastic show that was.
Yeah, I used to love it.
The first I don't know 6 seasons or something like that are just TV gold. Maybe the best thing that's ever been on TV.
I liked it a lot, and I watched it for a number of years. I probably still actively watch new episodes in, I don't even know, 2005 maybe is when I stopped even looking at new episodes. And it's still on. That's the hilarious thing. I just feel like everyone drops off at a certain point, but somebody's still watching. That they have to be.
Oh yeah.
So.
For them to still be doing it. I've tried watching the new take on The Simpsons, and I'm kind of with you. I actually probably stopped right around the time the movie came out.
Yeah.
That was sort of
When was that? 2000 or something?
No, it was 2006,
Oh, okay.
2007.
So about the same
somewhere
time.
around there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just I feel like they just kind of hit their peak.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I think they hit their peak long before that,
Yeah.
to be honest. But after that, I don't know. Something about the writers today, I almost kind of feel like they don't understand the characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just my critique.
Well, yeah, it's kind of funny. I don't know. A few years ago, maybe 5 years ago or something, I was just watching television, flipping around. And The Simpsons was on FX or something. And I was like, oh, well, I'm just going to watch it. And so it was this episode. And I think I might have told you this before. I don't know. But it was an episode, and it was the 90s. And Homer and Marge were in college, and that's when they met. And I was like, what in the
90s?
There's no way what is going on? And so I looked it up on the internet, as you do. And it turns out that that was the episode where they sort of rewrote the timeline, and everyone was furious about it. And I just happened to see that one episode, and I was like, well, that's dumb. You know, I'm not gonna watch that. So
Yeah.
anyway, it kind of just rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, so now what? They don't age anyway, so who the hell cares what the timeline is? I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. But there's also like this thing where like, I don't know, just like little things that I kind of noticed as I was watching that. It just sort of seems like, okay, like for example, when Lisa, this is just an example, when Lisa discovered like vegetarianism and that she was going to be like a animal rights activist and all this stuff. She was always like really like passionate. Maybe this is a bizarre thing to kind of notice, but like she was always kind of passionate about like, okay, I'm going to eat like vegetarian food. And she would try to even like, I remember there was like a couple episodes where she would try to offer alternatives to like Homer and Marge, you know, and even Bart and all that stuff. And then, but then like there's like this sort of like change now where it's almost like, I remember there was an episode not that long ago where she like Lisa was just like, oh man, I wish vegetarian food wasn't so bland. And it's like, like that almost just sounds like a jab at vegetarians.
Right.
Like you're almost like shaming like vegetarians for like, you know, just, I don't know, being like stupid about food or something. And
Right.
but whereas like the early Lisa was all like, no, fuck that. Like tofu is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I don't know, just little things like that.
They just didn't keep the characters.
Yeah,
they
they
were.
didn't keep the characters. Yeah. The animation, I think, is a little too. One of the things I liked about, you know, the 90s Simpsons is that there was still that sort of a little bit of crudeness from like, you know, the earlier episodes that was still kind of going on. But it was also still amazing animation. Like, and today it just sort of seems like, I don't know, The Simpsons, like it's just too glossy. And I don't know. I'm when it comes to The Simpsons, I can't help but be like a cranky old man about it, because that's one of those things that like I grew up with, and I have a lot of like, I just have a lot of respect for The Simpsons as like a cultural milestone.
Right.
You know, like it's like the Ninja Turtles to me. I'm also the same way about the Ninja Turtles. You fuck with the Ninja Turtles, you fuck with me. Like that's how I look at it. You know, and I mean, seriously. And so, like, Michael Bay is my enemy. He's my enemy. Did you see that shit that he did?
No. Now, did they have penises? I heard they had penises.
I don't remember, and I don't care. If that's even, I mean, seriously, like, anybody who fucking grew up with the Ninja Turtles is not going to care if they have dicks.
Yeah.
It's just
CGD, computer generated dicks.
that's
Oh man. CGTD. Computer generated turtle dicks.
Well, that escalated very quickly, that conversation. That was amazing. CGD. Was that right? CGD?
CGTD.
Okay, CGTD. It's like TCRI.
It's not a real thing. You don't have to get it right.
Now. We made it a real thing.
Oh my God.
Eric.
We made them
We
a manufactured real thing. Like a golem.
Did you ever see that YouTube video though? The anatomically, I don't even know if I'm saying it right because I'm a moron, but it's like what is it? Anatomy.
Anatomically, yeah, I think that's right.
Anatomically correct Ninja Turtles. And it's like, it's the theme song, but they actually talk about turtle dicks, and they talk about how like they take that 80s theme song and they actually talk about how like they're anatomically, am I saying it right? Anatomically wrong. The turtles are in the 80s cartoon. There comes a point where people just need to realize that this shit's not reality. You know, like who cares if they're anatomically wrong? They look fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the turtles are fucking, dude. I consider them my true family. I mean, Splinter was my dad. Raphael, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Leonardo. They were all my brothers.
Wow.
I was the fifth turtle in my
Wow.
mind.
Was April your mom?
Well, I don't think she was their mom.
Well,
she couldn't
Splinter
be
wasn't
my
their
mom.
dad.
Well, yes, he was. He's the one who like raised them and taught them to kill Shredder.
You're right. Yeah, it's not biological.
No, it's
who
not
your dad is.
biological.
You're right.
I mean, I always did find that aspect of the Ninja Turtles absolutely hilarious, that it was a rat that, like, you know, trained these turtles. Did you ever yeah, it's but no, seriously, Michael Bay, eat a turtle dick. Like, I'm just gonna say it right now. Like, just for screwing that
Yeah.
up. Actually, I don't even know, honestly. I heard that he wasn't even really the one that was 100% responsible, but I think he did produce that movie. I don't know.
Wow.
Well,
look.
you know what, guys? All of you listeners, I don't know. Help me out. If there's any fellow turtle fans out there, back me up.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. I assume
No,
it sucks.
actually-
I mean,
Yeah, no, I really did. I don't really like what the Turtles, like what they've been doing with the franchise the last few years. That Nickelodeon CGI series they did in 2012, I didn't like it at first, but then it started to become pretty interesting. So I don't know. I'm passionate about the Simpsons and the Turtles. Those were like my two favorite like things growing up as a kid. Yeah.
mine was mostly.
So I apologize.
Huff and Glade. Huff and Glade and punk rock. Anyway, let's. How about we get to this music?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
So the first record we're going to talk about actually comes from a listener's special request. This is a milestone in the Accelerativ Thrust podcast.
Woo.
A milestone, ladies and gentlemen. So J.L. Bollinger, who is from the band Zool and Anomander.
Oh, I love Anomander.
Anomander is awesome.
I have those CDs they made. I don't know who else got them, but they're freaking amazing.
Oh, I got him.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah, and then he's also, I guess, in the Shining Realm.
Yeah.
Also.
Well, we'll have to
Like,
talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that
because
So
we're gonna
which
review it later.
I didn't know. But JL, great guy. He was also in a band called the Savage Axe, who my old band, Disgruntled Noisebox. God, I have a lot of old bands. But played with them and Zool both
Nice.
quite a few times. So did Abnormal Man,
Cool.
another old band of mine. Anyway, my point is, though, JL is just a great guy. Zool kicks ass. Anomander, as you said, Eric, kicks ass. And he sent me an email and asked me if Eric and I could review this 100 Gecs CD. Well, it's not a CD. It's actually on Spotify. Record. And I said, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually heard 100 Gecs before. My friend Travis played me a couple of songs. But I didn't even know that 100 Gecs had an album. Now, at first I didn't know if 100 Gecs was just a person or exactly what 100 Gecs was. But I guess it is a duo. So it's two people. And it's really difficult to exactly nail down and describe what it is that 100 Gecs is and what they do sonically. The name of the record is 1,000 Gecs. And I listened to this thing probably 5 times, trying to wrap my head around it. It's very, very interesting. I would say it's described, I guess, in general as hyper pop, which I guess is kind of a newer genre that I guess, kind of came into being in like around 2010-ish or something. I could be completely wrong about that. But that's kind of what I think is going on with that genre. So the best way to describe it is just, well, hyper pop music. It's like sounds hyper active, like it's fast at times. Sometimes it has elements of almost like metal. But I mean that's very, very like few and far between. Basically, when I say that, what I mean is they're doing like this really weird sped up sort of catchy pop, and then all of a sudden there's like a little part in a song where all of a sudden they go into like this almost industrial sounding sort of thing, which really puts me in mind a little bit. And Eric and I both actually agreed, because we kind of already had a discussion about this a little bit. Mindless Self Indulgence kind of puts you in mind of what that group was doing in the 90s. But at the same time, there's also some really heavy use of auto-tune kind of going on, or maybe it's just vocal effects. Sometimes it almost reminds me of Ween, but a lot of it really doesn't sound that far off from just the pop music, the modern pop music you hear on the radio. Mm-hmm. I mean, the lyrics are kind of ridiculous at times. I mean, there's like a song called Money Machine, I think it is. It's like track 2, very catchy, and there's a lot of kind of cussing going on, and it's pretty juvenile, but it definitely works for what it is, and it's kind of funny. And I don't know, it's like I said, it's just really difficult to kind of nail down exactly what it is. It's very fast, like very quick, like there's 10 songs and it's like 20 minutes long or something like that. So I don't think there's a song on it that really goes over like 2.5 minutes. And some of the songs are like only about 1.5 minutes. And it's just sort of this hyperactive electronic pop music, which I've stated several times. I'm just kind of repeating myself at this point, trying to explain it. And so I think I'm going to stop now, and I think I'm going to let Erik talk about what he thinks of it.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was so fun, like unbearably fun. It's pop music with pretty crazy production. I found it to be very irreverent and thoroughly modern and young. I know that sounds stupid, but being an old person, it becomes really obvious when things are made to be of the time by people who are young. I don't know. But with that being said, I think anyone could get into this and should. I just had a blast with it. Elements of it definitely remind me of like Kesha, like just the delivery of the singing, even though it is 100% every moment through pitch shifting or autocorrect or whatever. But you almost get used to it, and you almost accept it as just a regular voice after a while, I think. There's elements of it that are kind of like zanned out, like Young Lean or like Billie Eilish or whatever. But if you mix that kind of stuff with like Otto von Schirach or Aphex Twin or, I don't know, like Square Pusher or something, Venetian Snares, that kind of thing. And so it is noisy and it's fast and it's pretty brutal at times. They do a lot of different things, but like honestly, Kesha mixed with Otto von Schirach, that's what it sounded like to me. and maybe a little bit of Die Antwoord in there too, just like with the cutesiness of it all.
I never thought of that one.
Yeah, but I don't know. I had a blast listening to it. I also listened to it probably three or four times. And I just had a great, it was really super fun. Yeah. And I don't know. Like I said, there's not a lot to go over here because it's so like, is what it is. I mean, it's just, it kind of reminded me of, Fire Tools in that same way, where it's like, it just is what it is. If you describe it, you know what it is. And that's the sound of it, you know? So I just thought it was super fun. I think if you like pop music, but you also get into weird shit, you'll like it. If you're into weird shit and aren't too damn serious about it, then you'll probably like this too. So, yeah, I'm glad that JL brought this to us because I'm sure I'm going to be listening to it a lot. It had a hip hop element to it too that was sort of hiding underneath everything else. But yeah, I don't know. It reminded me of some other things like Dormouse or Mr. Feathers. I don't know if you ever listened to that, Dan, but it's
no, I've never even heard those.
Yeah, it's just like really wild kind of hip hop with that kind of breakbeat stuff thrown in. So, but yeah, I loved it. So, anyway.
Yeah, it was. I agree with you. It was definitely a lot of fun. I mean,
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, I can't help but listen to it. You know, it almost seems like each time I listen to it, I find something new about it.
Yeah.
You know, like it's very, very peculiar.
Yeah.
You know, and
it gets better every time. I think too.
I agree.
When I first heard the first track, I was like, "Oh shit, I'm not gonna like this." And when the second track comes on, and it's so like boisterous, and I don't know, just kind of like peacocking, you know, I was like, this. I don't know if I'm gonna really like this. And then by the time I got to the third song, I was like, okay, this is rad. So, and then every time I've heard it since, I'm like, wow, this is really cool. So.
Yeah, the Fire Tools comparison, good call on that. I mean, it definitely is more, I would say, a lot more accessible than Fire Tools.
I think so.
The craziness, the crazy kind of going all over the place aspect is there at times with this as well. That is also present with Fire Tools.
Yeah, for sure. Nice.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, JL, for that recommendation.
So the way that the show is set up today, we did that kind of shared review. Dan and I are each going to do one review, and then we're going to review the Shining Realm release. And let me just say, this is going to be the spazziest episode of all time. Like, the Shining Realm is not spazzy, okay? That's our one reprieve during this whole thing.
Right.
But the rest of this, like, I don't know. Maybe get into some amphetamines or something before checking out these records, because
it would be great to take drugs.
Yeah, because these are some spazzed out things. So, with that being said, my pick was a group called Urochromes. The record is called Trope House. It came out in 2019. I don't know anything about Urochromes. I just found it somehow, and I liked it. This one also, not only are the releases spazzy, but a couple of them here are very, very short. The Urochromes record comes in, I think, at 19 minutes. So your homework this week is not as intense as usual. But anyway, Urochromes is very, I don't know how to describe it. It's I don't want to say it's all over the place, because I don't think that's what I really mean. It goes a lot of places, but I think it's very like direct in its vision. I think it's a duo. They have a drum machine for all of the rhythms, and then from there I think it's just a guy playing guitar. and another guy singing. I'm sure that they added other things into the recording or whatever. But because of that super strong drum machine element, it puts it squarely in this other sort of realm than maybe other things that are similar to it. I found the whole thing to be like really frenetic and angular, noisy, but also the songs are kind of well written and pretty and not just based on the sound itself, which is cool. Because they allowed things to come in and out and change and grow. Like there's electric piano in there. There's like claps at overdubbed, or like background vocals, or they just come out of nowhere and they don't really go with the music. It's all very strange and thought out. So it's not just noise or psych. Like they really set out to make some music. As usual, I'm just going to kind of give sort of a list of where I think this thing falls. I think it's some sort of strange nexus where like things like Shellac or Brainiac or Scratch Acid sort of come together with like the Dead Boys and the Buzzcocks. So you got that like punk rock element in there too, like even almost punk. And then also with like the OCs and J Retard kind of stuff. So if you're into any of that stuff, I honestly think you're going to like this. I listened to this one. It doesn't hurt anything that it's only 19 minutes long, but I probably listened to this 6 times. I loved the songs. I love the sound of it. And I love the attitude of the whole thing. So yeah. What'd you think, Dan?
Man, I love this. This is, everything that you just said. It's spastic, but it's also very pretty at times. I definitely hear it's got a very lo-fi kind of production at the same time. Mm-hmm. I didn't know it was a drum machine.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think that's great because, they definitely kind of knew how to make that drum machine sound like a real drummer.
Yeah.
And that's not really an easy feat.
For sure.
And so, yeah, parts of it definitely reminded me of J Retard. Definitely reminded me of, I don't know, there was a couple of tracks on here that reminded me of like Six Finger Satellite
sure.
without the synthesizers. And particularly a couple songs specifically, and I can't remember the titles, that really put me in mind of Jesus Lizard.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Especially like the vocalist. Yep. Vocally, there's a lot of David Yao happening here.
Big time.
But there's also a lot of like sort of that the band Human Eye that we reviewed like a few episodes back. Specifically that one song that starts off with like this mutated feedback for like 10 seconds. It totally reminded me of that. There's that one song that sounds like they have a little kid doing the vocals.
Resist Psychic Death,
which I think is so rad.
It's a great song.
Is that what's actually happening?
I have no idea.
Or are they using like?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like vocal effects.
I would guess that it's a real, actual little kid. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, like I wonder if it's one of the members, like
no idea,
like kids or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it is so hilarious.
Yeah, it's good.
Like and I don't know if it's meant to be hilarious. I couldn't imagine that they wouldn't do that without some sort of a sense of humor about it.
Oh, for sure. I think that it, like Men's Recovery Project wouldn't be an unfair comparison
that's
either,
actually,
like that.
That's actually very, very, that's a very good, like, especially like, did you ever hear that song by them called The Mayor is a Robot?
I don't remember.
It's actually a collaboration with Latigra.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And so Kathleen Hanna and Sam McPheeters are like screaming. It's like this really spastic. What it sounds like is they put a drum machine and they just like did like a loop and they just like cranked it up as fast as it could go.
Yeah.
Like that. And both Kathleen Hanna and Sam McPheeters are yelling at each other. Like Sam's like, "What's wrong with the mayor? Is the mayor a robot?" And then Kathleen Hanna's like, "The mayor's a robot. The mayor's a robot." And they're just like, and that's exactly what that song, that kind of spastic nature is what that song reminds me of.
For sure.
Absolutely fantastic. It's raw as hell. The guitar work is incredible.
It is.
On that last song.
Yeah.
That last song was almost going into like Replacements or Husker Du territory.
I know, right?
And then like I love the ending too, where they're just like talking to each other with like delay effects or something. Like I don't know if that was like a mistake or if they just purposely left that in there, but it's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like the whole thing. And the fact that it's only like 18, 19 minutes long made it a very easy listen.
For sure.
So Urochrome's Trope House, fantastic
Sweet
record. Yeah. Now that is probably a much easier listen than my pick. And my pick is like, when you're talking about spastic Erik, I kind of, in some ways, at least for like 99 in the scene that this group was in, you couldn't get much more spastic than what this group was doing in 99. And for those of you who have never heard this group, the record is called Frankenstein Girls Will Seem Strangely Sexy by a group called Mindless Self Indulgence. This came out in 1999, and it's 30 tracks.
Yeah.
So it is a lot longer than Urochromes or 100 Gecs. And I'm not going to lie, it could be very difficult to get through all 30 tracks in one sitting. This band, it's interesting. They came out in like I would say like 97 or something like that. They put out a record called Tight, and then this is like their second album or something like that. Somehow this group, it's kind of one of those mystery sort of things in the 90s or the late 90s where a group that you would think would not appeal to the new metal crowd kind of appealed to the new metal crowd. And another example I can think of that would be like Cradle of Filth. They're like the only black metal band that, for some reason, at least here in Iowa, where I was growing up, when I was growing up, it wasn't necessarily uncommon to see like somebody listening to Cradle of Filth who was also very much into like Static X and Korn and all these types of groups, you know? And Mindless Self-Indulgence kind of exists in that weird place where they made music that was actually pretty crazy, at least for the time. It's sort of a combination of, I don't know, like electro clash meets like, I guess, metal and start and stop synthy type stuff. One of the things about this record, I guess I can't really have much defense for it or explanation for it. If you are easily offended, it might offend you. There definitely were some things that were used, like words and potty humor and things like that. That was very, very juvenile. And I guess like the only explanation I can think of is that they were kind of approaching it from the standpoint maybe of, we're kind of making fun of ourselves also. I don't really know. That's kind of some of the things that I've read about. But just so you know, there are some words, on this album, and really on all Mindless Self-Indulgence albums that kind of go there, so to speak. But if you're able to get past that, the music, I think, especially for the time and for the scene that it was in, was very forward-thinking. in my opinion. I really enjoy like I think there's a lot of originality going on here. And I actually think that this could actually be almost like proto hyper pop in a lot of ways. I would almost describe it as hyper industrial metal. They were basically doing what 100 Gecs is doing now, only on the metal side of things instead of like the pop side of things. Although I would say Mindless Self Indulgence was also very catchy at times as well. I mean, like I said, there's 30 tracks, and sometimes, you know, it does kind of wear thin, the humor and sort of the sound and everything as it goes on and on. But I do think that this was a very original band for the time. And I don't know. I don't really have much more to add. What did you think, Erik?
Well, I actually bought this back when it came out.
As did I.
And I thought it was like 2000, but 99, 2000, what's the difference really? Yeah. And I adored it. Here's the thing. I did not listen to nu metal. Like, I listened to the first Korn record when it came out, and I always really enjoyed Marilyn Manson.
Sure.
That was it. That was it, though. I didn't listen to any of the other stuff. I didn't listen to Static X. I didn't listen to Cold Chamber or Jack Off Jill or whatever. The only things that I got close to would maybe be like Orgy, or Dead Z or something. And that was because of the synthesizers, you know?
Sure.
And so that's what actually led me to like this as well, was the synthesizer elements of it. But I loved it, and I had never heard anything like it. And I still haven't necessarily heard anything quite like this at all. And that's a big statement, you know, like I can't think of another band that has tried to accomplish what Mindless Self Indulgence totally accomplished. Like, they're not trying here. This is a perfect representation of what they were trying to do, and they nailed it. So, with that being said, I don't know. There's some other things I wanted to talk about. Like you said, it's very problematic, like beyond problematic. But it was created to be offensive. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, and so that makes it kind of difficult to know exactly how you should feel about it now. It's like I still watch John Waters movies from the 70s, and they're really gross. I mean, they're really offensive. But that's what they do. Like, that's kind of the point. And so, well, you know, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. Another thing that I kind of forgot to add is, so it was kind of, a lot of it is just juvenile kind of potty humor type, like stuff that you would say maybe as a 6th or 7th grader, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that, you know, like stuff that you would find funny then. And I think one of the things about Mindless Self-Indulgence was that they were aware of that. Mm-hmm. They were aware that what they were doing was that.
Sure.
They were aware that it was stupid, mm-hmm. that it was offensive, and I'm not saying that that necessarily makes it okay in the grand scheme of things at all. Right. But yeah, like you said, I think that they created it knowing that this isn't like highbrow, like lyricism by any means.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Not at all.
Go on.
The reason I revisited that idea though is like for two reasons. It makes it super funny at times. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about necessarily just the dumb usage of slurs or even like extreme sexual content and things like that. What I mean is like every chance they got to be offensive, they took. Like every single time they thought, how can we offend someone that wasn't just like every so often. It was every second of the album. So like you'll have moments where it's like, it's just going along, you know, and then it'll stop for a second. It'll just be like, just for 1 second, it'll stop and be like, die, motherfucker, you know, like they just throw it in for no reason other than there was a millisecond with nothing in it, and they had to put something offensive in it. And I think it's great.
Right.
It made me like laugh out loud a few times because of that. Because I was like, not offended, shocked, but like just shocked at how quick and hilarious the irreverence was. It was just like they couldn't let 1 second go by without trying to push your buttons. It was amazing. And the
music itself.
Oh yeah.
And the sound of Jimmy Urin's voice is hilarious.
Oh, it's great.
Just like it's almost comedy music in a way.
It is
like
almost
it almost
novel.
sounds like that.
For sure.
Yeah.
His voice to me sounds like basically Marilyn Manson and Jonathan Davis together. Like pretty much everything he does, I can hear one of those two guys doing that. So, but I like that. I like those voices. So the flip side of it being really funny how offensive it is, the flip side of that is I truly think that they were trying to be representative. I really do think this. Now hear me out for a second. I think a lot of times early sort of forays into representation in media are messy and they're misguided and they're offensive. But it's still sort of like trying to give a group of people representation in modern media. And so, like, I don't know, like if you watch like Will and Grace or something, I'm sure there were people that watched that were like, oh, this is very offensive. And then other people might have watched it and said, oh, I'm glad that people are represented, you know, in a different way than they have been before. So it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know exactly what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I would guess that this record caused a lot of meatheads to question their sexual identity or gender identity, or think about things that otherwise they wouldn't have, or become comfortable with ideas that they otherwise wouldn't have. And even though it was being offensive and making fun in a way, it still sort of was a representation of things that really didn't exist, obviously, in nu metal, let alone society at large. So those are two things that I just wanted to kind of discuss that I thought about during listening to this. And you said it was hard to listen to this all the way through. I listened to it all the way through. I actually went to Davenport to go to pawn shops, and I got lost in Davenport numerous times, probably 6 times. And the whole time this nonsense was blaring in my vehicle, and I wanted to kill everyone in the entire town. So it was great. I loved it. Anyway, I'll move on.
Well, I mean, I think like it's easy for me to listen to all the way through, but
yeah,
it's I guess that was kind of more of like a fair warning. Like,
right, I understand.
Might not be an easy thing for you to listen to. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because it's not. Well, for one thing, it's like you said, mentioning all of the kind of offensive content, potentially offensive content in there. But also, the music is very, very spastic. So I could see how somebody would be like, and it doesn't let up, not 1 second. 30 songs of just...
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like literally just like that. And
it's great.
It blows my mind that it came out in 99, actually.
Me too.
Or 2000 or whatever.
Yeah, it's very ahead of its time.
I agree. And there was one other thing I wanted to add to your point about nu metal.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the biggest misnomers about nu metal, actually, is that it is generally thought of as this meathead genre, and with good reason. There's a lot of reasons to think that, because from the down-tuned guitars to the, mosh pits that were happening, and there definitely was like, more representation of just sort of bros at those, what I mean? Like there's There's a lot of reasons to think that, but when you actually decipher, and we've kind of touched on this before, when you actually look at the lyrics that were kind of coming and the content that was coming from these bands. I mean, Jonathan Davis, like, his was not a very masculine dude. You know what I mean? Despite the fact that his band, because of its sound, appealed to it. I mean, most of the songs that Korn write, even to this day, is about how he, you know, was just kind of pushed around all the time for not being a real man. You know? Fred Durst even. I mean, I know Fred Durst, he does definitely represent kind of a meathead. But even Fred Durst had moments of just pure, like, I think, just pure, like, what's the word I'm trying to look for? I don't know, like vulnerability. You know what I mean? Like, even in his lyrics sometimes. I mean, don't get me wrong, Break Stuff is not a vulnerable song. That is definitely designed to appeal to those meatheads.
Right.
But there's other songs like Rearranged and a song called No Sex and, you know, all this stuff that is really just kind of about, it's actually like emotional and, you know, so I actually think nu metal in a weird sort of way as a whole, even outside of the Mindless Self Indulgence record, was kind of about making some of these meatheads question their vulnerability and their what it means to be a real man and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think nu metal is unfairly sort of criticized for that a lot of the times. But I do think that does exist, having said that, in nu metal. But it also exists in punk rock. You know what I mean? Like problematic stuff exists. I mean, look at like look at like rap, country, look at everything. You know what I mean? Like, so it, you know, but I think nu metal really gets the bad end of the stick, you know, because of the sound of the bands. And maybe from people not really understanding the content that was maybe coming from like guys like Jonathan Davis, you know?
Well, their fans don't help anything either.
No, their fans don't help anything. That is, I call that the juggalo problem.
Yeah. Real quick, I was going to say that just because, it does have a lot of nu metal in it, but there's a lot of other stuff happening. Industrial, breakbeat, all the synth stuff. But the biggest thing that I found interesting about it upon listening this time, because I haven't listened to this in a long, long time, probably about 20 years, is dub. It had tons of dub in it. Tons of it.
Yeah.
Like,
definitely.
Like tons of reggae influence. And that's hilarious to me. I just never noticed it before. But yeah, ultimately, my review, the little blurb that I wrote for this was almost the entire time I was listening, I was rolling my eyes and shaking my head because it was so stupid, but my mouth was hanging open because it's amazing.
Yes,
that's true. The whole time I was just like, oh, this is so dumb. But God damn, it's cool. And so well done. So
yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
know. If you're in the mood to not think, but just get nuts, this is a pretty good record for that. So yeah, The Shining Realm is an Iowa City group. The record is called Enter the Shining Realm. It came out just recently, last couple weeks. The reason I paused when I said group is because I'm a little confused about who's in the group. So hear me out for just a second. The CD, which I have in my hand, and it looks beautiful, by the way. You should all order the Shining Realm CD. I usually don't get CDs, but the artwork really sold it for me. It's real cool. So anyway, in the credits here, it has Maxwell Strobe, Charles Pagan, Todd Woody, J.L. Bollinger, and John Hansen. So I'm close with Todd Woody, and I know JL, and I know John Hansen, and I don't know Charles Pagan or Maxwell Strobe, and I don't even know if they're real people or not. I mean, if that's their real names. So anyway, those are the people who made the CD. It's a super fun record. I liked it a lot. It is very psych oriented. Like it is just, very 60s, psychedelic, kind of hippie sound. It incorporates a lot of Middle Eastern sounds, scales. It just has a lot of psych rock on here too, though. So you have like these sort of Middle Eastern sounds, but then also fuzzy guitars, tremolo on the guitars, vocals sometimes. There's a saz, which I found out is like a banjo kind of sitar sort of thing, and that I assumed was just a regular banjo. But no, it's like a little instrument that's a little more like a sitar, but it sounds great through the whole thing. The percussion is cool. It's like kind of like Velvet Underground, like Mo Tucker. A lot of bass drum, a lot of tambourine. I think I heard like finger cymbals and things in there too. But yeah, it's just very psych oriented. It reminded me a lot of their Satanic Majesty's Request by the Stones, which some Stones fans don't like that. It's my favorite one, and you can send your comments to Accelerativ Thrust, our Instagram account, because I know that's an unpopular opinion. But it reminded me a lot of the Electric Prunes, a lot of like Ananda Shankar, who's the nephew of Ravi Shankar, and put out sort of like 60s covers with the sitar. So you get that sort of tabla rhythm going that the Shining Realm uses quite a bit. As well as just other countless moments from records by 60s bands in the freak scene and stuff. But it's cool because I haven't heard much of this done with this sort of devotion to the sound. A lot of times people take it too far in one direction or another. But this is just very firmly in place of songs that have almost a ritualistic element to them. They're droney. They seemingly are created to help you space out, sort of to expand your mind a little bit through sound. I really loved it. I love Todd Woody. He's a really great guy and a good friend. JL, I've had the pleasure of recording with. John Hanson, I know a little bit. And actually, the other two guys, like I said, I don't know if that's their real names or not, but I don't assume that it is their real names. But the reason I mentioned the live band versus the CD is that the live band actually includes all kinds of people I know. And hopefully this isn't like a secret or something. I wouldn't be surprised if the Shining Realm wanted to have some sort of anonymity, but I'm going to blow that for them. But live, it looks like it's still Todd Woody. And then Chris Burns, Dan Davis, Sky Carrasco, who I've had the pleasure of playing with in a couple different things. She's just one of the best people I've ever met. Joe Didarian, who, in my opinion, is Iowa City. Like, there is no Iowa City without Joe Didarian. I think I've said that before. Dustin Kelly and Laura Kelly are in it. I don't know them well or at all. I'm not sure. And then another guy I don't know who plays bongos and synth. And I don't even know his name. But I watched the No Touching session. I haven't seen them live myself in person, which is weird because they played in Des Moines with Land of Blood and Sunshine, and I obviously should have been there. I was probably just on my bullshit or something and like didn't feel like I could go out or something, Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But the live performances seem a little calmer and a little softer, a little more spread out sonically. And so I think on the no touching session I watched, which is no touching session, for those of you who don't know, is a series on Facebook that Crystal Sherman puts out. And so Shining Realm just had an episode of that, and it was really great. So when we post this, when we do the social media, I'll link to that too, if I can help it, so you guys can watch that performance. But I'm really stoked because I think they did songs live that weren't on the CD, and they sounded really cool. And so I'm excited to hear what these guys come up with. I'm really excited to hear the next recording with the lineup that they have. I don't know if JL and John are going to make appearances live or not. But anyway, I'm excited to see what happens with this group, is what I'm saying. And I love most of the people in it, and so I can't really say enough about it. It's really well done, cool, laid back music, very ethereal, very, I don't want to say new agey, but I mean it's there. There's an element of that. But it's really cool. It's just really good psych stuff. And yeah, now I'm officially rambling, so I'll turn it over to Dan. What did you think, Dan?
Well, first of all, let me say that I know virtually nobody in this group, except for JL. Mm-hmm. JL, as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, great guy. But you also mentioned Crystal, who is just absolutely one of the best sound people. I mean, like, just so good at her job. Mm-hmm. Every time we've played games, that I've played games and she's done sound, it's just been fantastic. So shout out to Crystal.
Yeah, and if you ever need mixing or mastering done, she does a great job at that too. So
wow, yeah, and the no touching sessions, that's an awesome thing that's been going on through the pandemic, and so shout out to Crystal. The rest of the people, sorry, don't know you, but I gotta say, I really enjoyed this album. I can't really add much. I mean, Erik, you pretty much just broke down everything about it. Like I kind of struggle to even think of what to add to it. I guess, I definitely agree with their Satanic Majesty's request. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. So that's your favorite Rolling Stones album, huh?
If I'm going to pick one to put on, it's usually that one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I got to make a confession, and we can talk about this another time, but I'm only familiar with like 5 Rolling Stones albums.
Yeah.
And they're all it's all the important ones. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, so I haven't gone, that's one of them. Mm-hmm. But anyway, okay. Aside from all that, we're not talking about the Rolling Stones. We're talking about the Shining Realm here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, freak folk for sure, that kind of thing. Definitely like a new agey. Some of it reminded me actually of the less chaotic parts of like Prince Rama and things like that. That might be a weird comparison, but that kind of like the opening track especially had elements because of the chant sort of like nature of it. And like you said, kind of a new age sort of thing going on there, which I also kind of hesitate to use that label as well. Mm-hmm. But definitely, like you said, it goes there for sure. Actually, you mentioned Land of Blood and Sunshine. A lot of this kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah, I think, definitely.
Yeah, and I would even say some of it less Americana, but some of it even kind of reminded me of your group, the Old Scratch Revival singers at times, a little bit, but not completely. I mean, I think that's kind of just more the acoustic element, the non-electric element that kind of is going on there. You know what I mean? but definitely less Americana, for sure. But also, like, I hear a lot of like stuff like Devendra Banhart going on. Like you said, the Electric Prunes, 60s folk. You did say Electric Prunes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, it's a really enjoyable record. Animal Collective, I hear some of that kind of going on. I mean, I don't really have much to add other than it was just a really enjoyable kind of acoustic. I don't even want to say experimental, but just kind of a sort of ethereal folk record.
Yeah.
And it's well done. It's just very well done.
Yeah.
And
for sure. And I think that's what I liked about it is because it's so well done, it definitely stands out from other modern psych stuff. Like it's not even in the same realm, for lack of a better word, but
it's in a shiny.
Yeah,
realm,
right. It's not it doesn't feel like it's trying to accomplish the same things as other modern psych. And that's cool. It's trying to accomplish its own thing. So
I kind of sensed a little bit when I was listening to it, almost like a punk approach to like the freak folk kind of going on here.
yeah, I can see that.
It just felt very, I don't know, it felt very collective and DIY sort of, you know what I mean, to me. And I think that's awesome. It's fantastic. There was one song in particular, and again, forgive me, I can't remember all of the songs titles, but there was one song. It was one of the last like 3 songs that I just really loved, and it really hit me because I was driving in my van at like 10 o'clock at night on a country road where I imagined like some weird guy jumping out in front of me, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know how sometimes you're like the only car on a road and you're like, some guy could just like jump up from the ditch and just like kill me at any moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that song came on when I was having that thought. And it's totally unrelated. Like, it's not like that song put those I think about that every time I drive down country roads in Iowa. Late at night, 10 o'clock at night,
No, I think this could be music that some guy that jumped out of the ditch to kill you could listen to. I can see that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's and it's great too, because I would like to think that anytime murder happens, you don't have to listen to heavy stuff. You can really listen to.
Yeah, you could be lulled into murder easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with this kind of music.
Yeah, so this is kind of like, maybe this is murder music. I don't know. Like, who knows?
Wow. If you are a member of the Shining Realm, we're sorry that we have now associated your group with the murder.
You can honestly, guys, I don't know you, JL. I apologize. But you can blame it all on me. It's not Eric. I was the one having the thoughts.
I mean,
about
I'm
the murder.
always all about murder, so it's cool. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not a negative thing on this podcast if we say that maybe murderers listen to your music. That's actually a good thing on this podcast. So.
We're all about turning negativity into positivity.
Yeah.
Turn it around.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the name of a East Bay punk documentary, Turn It Around. It's like a 2-hour documentary, and it talks about how, what's that, 928 Gilman Street or whatever.
Yeah, Gilman Street.
Gilman Street and all that stuff, and how, like, to play there. I don't know if that place is even still open.
Actually,
today,
I think I did see that. I saw that.
You did see that?
Yeah.
Like, you have to actually, like, well, to ever play there, you had to like submit your lyrics, and they would decide whether you can play there. Well, that wasn't the only deciding factor. You also couldn't be on a major label. And but your lyrics, they read your lyrics, and if they didn't like your lyrics, you couldn't play. Like, so you had to be a good lyric writer, and I would assume a non-offensive lyric writer, so I'm sure Mindless Self Indulgence didn't get on at 928.
Shining
Gilman
Realm
Street
might,
or
though.
whatever.
Their lyrics are very
yeah,
cool.
Shining Realm. You know what? You guys should try and get on at Gilman Street.
No, seriously, the lyrics are really cool. I didn't know what they were saying at all until
I
looked at
they
the
are
CD.
fantastic.
A lot of fun, esoteric ideas there, you know.
Yes. I guess, you know what? I guess I just lied. I guess I was just agreeing with you, Eric. I guess I don't really know the lyrics, but I would assume that they are probably fantastic.
Yeah, they're very esoteric, very, I don't know how to describe them, spiritual. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly the feeling I got. There definitely was that song, though, about it's not about the guy jumping out of the ditch, but that I didn't associate it with. You get what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. That I was just thinking of it while that song was on.
Yeah.
There definitely was lyrics in there that I can't remember now that kind of made me just like realize life was okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There seemed to be definitely an element of positivity that I really enjoyed with this album.
Yeah.
And so,
for sure.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. And you know what? When I hear albums like this that are done well, it always makes me want to pull out the acoustic guitars again.
Yeah. Nice.
'Cause I don't really play acoustic guitars that often. And when I do, I forget how fun they are.
Yeah. It's definitely it pulls a different thing out of you when you use an acoustic. For sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Boy, man, I and my acoustic guitar is just sitting right there. Like, you know what we should do, Eric?
No, what should we do?
One of these episodes, we should both just be playing guitar while we're talking.
Oh my God. Just noodling around
and ding. Okay, this next record is.
Oh, that's terrible. Oh man. My mom used to get so mad at me when I would just sit and watch TV and pluck the guitar. That's all I did.
Yeah.
That's all I did for like all of high school, basically, was watch TV and plunk the guitar.
I definitely remember that. Now, when I was in 5th grade, before I actually knew how to play guitar, I joined school band. And my teacher insisted that I played the trombone. I don't know why, because I wanted to play drums so bad. But I think that she had me like do this thing where she had me pat like my knees, and she was like, nope, you can't be a drummer. like that's seriously how it went. She was like, nope, your timing is off. Here's the trombone, and she just like handed me this big trombone. And
what did she make you pound on to know that you were right for the trombone?
Well, no, she had me like
I
pat.
know. I'm just trying to be funny.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Gotcha. And I'm just things are going over my head. But anyway, okay, so she handed me this trombone. She's like, "Here you go." And I was like, well, why do you want me to play trombone? I want to play drums. Oh, I got too many drummers. Because everybody wanted to play drums.
Yeah, why not?
Which I think would have been awesome. What if the entire 5th grade school band was just a giant drum circle?
That'd be cool.
I don't think she was thinking ahead enough.
Yeah.
That was my criticism of her. But anyway, nonetheless,
if you're
she gave me
listening, lady,
yeah.
you should have had all drummers.
I don't even remember her name.
No one does,
honestly,
because she didn't take any chances. The answer was right there.
Yeah, it was. It really was like a big percussion circle.
Yeah. That would have went over so much better than.
The parents would have. Parents would have loved it. But anyway, what were we talking about? Doesn't even matter. I mean. Oh, she handed me this big trombone. And I remember, like, I hated playing trombone. So then when I got in 6th grade, I told the teacher that I wanted to play drums, and then that teacher had no problem moving me to the drums. It was weird.
Did you have to pound on your knees or anything?
Oh my God, you're amazing. Jeez.
They kicked the current drummer off the stool, off the throne.
Yeah. Little known fact, and here's a little fact for you though.
Mm-hmm.
They and only, I mean, this is only really going to matter to you and maybe a few of our listeners from Muscatine, but there were too many drummers, and there were only 2 drummers, right, in 5th grade. She didn't want to add me. She didn't want a 3rd drummer. But one of the 2 drummers was Greg Moomey in school band.
You didn't have a chance.
No, I really didn't. Like, looking back on it, it's like there's a reason why. I wonder if he passed the knee test.
Yeah, he must have. I don't know.
I'm gonna have to ask him.
He's a good
the
drummer.
Knee test.
He's
a great drummer. Absolutely.
I asked him once to teach me how to play breakbeat stuff, and he tried, but I couldn't do it. So yeah.
And he is so good at all of that.
I know. It's really, really solid.
Yeah, it's amazing. So yeah, the Accelerativ Thrust Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, I guess that's really all you guys need to know to get a hold of us. Just you can message us, you can comment, you can do whatever, and we'll get it one way or another if you do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's. I had a lot of fun this episode. Did you, Eric?
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, I thought it was like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah,
very, very spastic.
Yeah, and
I felt
everyone should check out Shining Realm. Just go over to Bandcamp and check it out. And if you order
Shining
the
Realm,
CD, it's really cool. Has a lot of cool art. So
it does have a great cover.
Yeah.
theshiningrealm.bandcamp.com. Thank you all for listening.
Yeah.
Really.
And send
really
us more
time.
reviews you want us to do. Hopefully we did a good job.
Send us.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much, JL. Also, if you do listen to Shining Realm, I totally recommend doing it on a dark, desolate Iowa highway.
Yeah. There you go. Nice.
It'll make everything peaceful.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice
Da
and
da da
peaceful.
da da da.
All right. Bye, y'all.